and welcome everybody to the panel. And I'm sure this is going to be a very exciting discussion given that last year saw a huge acceleration for D2C brands. Customers went online more than ever 2020 thanks to COVID. And it became, therefore, the year of digital acquisition for customers with a lot of people coming online for the first time. This year, I'm sure for all of you is about how you retain your customers and grow your business for the scale that has been set up by this acquisition last year. And we have, of course, very interesting representation on the panel with four different categories. Noise, which is, of course, an experiential brand with wearables as well as sound related products, right? We have Picker, which is looking at logistics and fulfillment. I'm sure would be having a lot of experience around that in terms of what happened with their customers. Libas, Indian wear, and Siddhant, you mentioned you've just gone offline as well. So again, a very interesting, development, I'm sure. So what would be for each of you the key highlights of 2020, right? And maybe you could share your learnings and insights with the audience today. Maybe we can start with Siddhant.
So, hi everyone. Like you rightly said, that e-commerce has been boosted due to COVID, and I think a lot of people are now moving online. And I think what has happened is that for most part of the e-commerce in India, it was dominated by marketplaces. But as we're moving forward, people are due to COVID, when everything was shut down, everything was offline wasn't even available. We saw a lot of people wanting that branded experience, and that was actually being achieved through D2C websites. Because as us as brands are also able to express ourselves much better through our own website as compared to a lot of other marketplaces, especially in the absence of offline. And yes, I think there's a lot of new technology that has come in, which has made it a lot easier for brands like us to give an Amazon-like or a Flipkart-like experience to our consumers. And I think going forward, it's only going to get better. And that, I mean, even people, even consumers have got that confidence in shopping directly from D2C websites as compared to marketplaces, which was not the case earlier.
Sure. I think the learnings that probably Deepak, and that can't see him on the screen somehow. I don't know if you can, but
Yeah, I can see you.
yeah, okay, there he is. Yeah. So Deepak, I'm sure, I mean, when you guys entered the market, it was a fairly disruptive category
Yeah.
and model, right? I mean, and then, later you also launched women's product. So how was 2020 for you guys in terms of the D2C business specifically? And what would you share with us today?
So I will say it was a great time because a lot of unlearning happened for us, and we kind of also expedited our innovation curve. But we realized that as a consumer were looking for more self-love, wellness, more sustainable solutions, and when they were engaging with the brands online, right? So I think we saw a lot of introduction of products around turmeric, onion oil, coffee. Even we kind of expedited the launch around that, and huge adoption from the consumers. And consumers were also in the do-it-yourself mode, right? So as a brand, we focus a lot on regimen selling because one of the core insight is that men doesn't know what product to use and how to use. So I think during COVID, when men were at home, salons were shut, the do-it-yourself kind of become a big need. So I think as a brand, we kind of solve that. Second is it also led us to kind of launch of the women hair removal category because we realized that again because of salon being shut and hair removal being a big use case for women now sitting at home is and as a brand I think we should kind of accelerate that. So we launched the category around September 20. So I think a lot of unlearning and innovation that happened at the business level. In fact, we launched the most number of products in 2020 compared to any other year in last 6 years of our existence.
Sure. Gaurav, Picker, I'm sure you would have seen a lot of clients go through challenges around fulfillment at that point in time. And you guys are in the business of actually making that simpler. So how was that experience? And did you guys really do something which was specific to help out the clients at the time, which actually helped improve the customer experience?
Yeah, Uma. So basically, in the last lockdown, in like almost April, May 2020, we almost like grew to zero, like almost downtime, like got downsized to zero in terms of business. And then eventually, when the lockdown got lifted, the transparency was missing. They were having dynamic lockdowns in different areas. There were certain restrictions on certain products. what product is essential, what is non-essential. And then, sellers who were selling mainly non-essential products also were shifting their product categories. Like a lot of them were like migrating towards essential products. So what we did was we innovated our product. We make sure that we give this complete transparency. We ensure that any order which is processed through picker should not be RTO'd due to lockdown conditions. And in across, like the other panelists also mentioned, we ensure that how our sellers can get and can provide an Amazon-like experience to their end customers. So by Amazon-like experience, we wanted that, like in our product, we brought some things which can enable faster delivery, which can enable contactless deliveries through, payment through links and all. And in nutshell, yeah, it was a great year for the digital boom. And eventually we capitalized towards it, grew almost 5x, and, going strong right now as well. But in general, customer experience was like customers have developed an expectation of receiving products early as compared to pre-COVID times. Now they want more and more branding to be done on packaging side as well. Now they also want proper communication. Like they should be completely connected with the brand during their journey with the parcel. So all these things are coming up as an innovation in this sector.
Okay. So coming to, I think one of at least my favorite categories on the panel, noise. And, Gaurav Khatri is with us. He's a co-founder of Noise. And I'm sure that wearables as well as music would have seen a huge upsurge. And, inherently Noise is an experiential brand, right? And how has this been in terms of, the year that went by, but also looking at, what are you going to do in the future really for Noise as an experience for customers now?
Thank you, Ma. Honestly, like you said, we have always been a experiential brand, being connected to the youth of the country very well. Pre-COVID, or probably we were very much prepared pre-COVID that the website and all the operations through that, the customer experience was always a priority. So we knew how to cater to those parameters. Fortunately or unfortunately, COVID happened and things became directly to see more, and consumer directly started reaching out to us. And being prepared from long time, we had that leverage to at least give that experience for the first time in a first leg itself, where the time was for the customer acquisition more. Along with that, a lot of other activities that we did in past, of course, like everybody has mentioned, the logistics experience like Amazon, quick deliveries and all those things are now a BAU exercise and a mandatory exercise for any D2C brand to, have all those operations sorted. Fortunately, we have the players like Picker and other people who are solving it for the industry. Along with that, a lot of things that we have done in last 12 months are related to our ecosystem of app, which is through the connected devices that we hold. A lot of engagement through a consumer that we have done, and a lot of new experiences that we are developing on the app, so that we as a brand can be more connected to the consumer and more nearer to them, and bring those feedback as quick as possible into the next product that we are trying to do. So fortunately, it has helped us to be more connected and discover the ways to get quick feedbacks from the consumer and implement into the lifestyle of our users.
That's great, actually. So when you looked at technology in terms of what will enable this experience for your customers, one, of course, you said that you have a fully powered app, but in terms of looking at any kind of new age technologies which help you to maybe understand the customers better, right? And then how are you building the ecosystem to serve a more personal experience? Maybe you could share some insights around that.
So yeah, personal experience is something which will be, a part of the entire D2C brand ecosystem now. We are working on it. So app again holds the maximum of it, along with the third-party tools that are there available in the market to optimize the, persona of an user and have those abilities to market to them the right things and to structure the right ways for them to, reach to the right product what they are looking at. Coming back to app, you may see I'm talking a lot about app, but yeah, app is the core ecosystem that is there with us, which gives us the extra experiential, have the ability to create that personal experiences. For an example, for our watches, you are a person who is on lack of sleep. You will get those notifications. We will have the personalized meditation routes for you. We will have suggested guided content for you to have those things that gives you a better life ahead. So these are the things, honestly, that team is working very, very closely, and these are the feedbacks, honestly, that we have got from the consumer, that these are things that they would need for an example, in terms of a gym, exercises, and all those stuff.
Sure. I think there is no doubt, that CX is the key. But, all of you are running very complex, systems, which are obviously some of you have offline, online, some of you have connected devices, right? And, complex range, and, you're diversifying your categories as well as you grow.
Right.
But there's not much to beat around the point that obviously customer experience is the key. And this goes right from UI, UX to how to do your campaigns, to discovery, fulfillment, and the number of aspects where CX matters is very, very complex. And maybe, Deepak, starting with you, perhaps could understand how you are actually treating this in your organization, and, how can other D2C companies learn in terms of what they need to be prepared with when they have to create a customer experience, which matters to the customer, but is also differentiated.
Yeah. So, a very good question. I think what we have seen in last 1.5 years is, I think technology is being solved by a lot of new startups that has come in the ecosystem. So as a brand, I'm now not very worried about technology to solve for payments, for RTOs, for fulfillment, etc., etc. I think all of these are getting solved at scale. A lot of companies have come up, which helps brand to focus on solve one thing, which is consumer and consumer experience. I think so. Very relevant question that way. I think one thing we have realized that with a lot of consumer now started to kind of buy online, getting comfortable with it, is consumer always want his next experience with the brand either similar or better than the previous experience, right? So I think that's the biggest challenge for the brand. As the brand scales up, how do we ensure that consistency? I think so. Most of the effort is kind of making sure that we have technology and customer service team in place that's make sure consumer experience is better than before. I think so. In fact, one of the change we did during COVID is we renamed our customer service team from customer service to consumer delight. I think that was the beginning of culture change at the organization level, and obviously there are technologies and processes to make sure we deliver it also.
And what is the kind of technology stack that, as a D2C brand, right, you have actually deployed across Bombay Shaving Company?
Yeah, so I think we use full stack CRM solutions. Again, that's something we use Klaviyo, where we kind of map the entire consumer journey end to end, and engage with them in different parts of their life cycle, right? And then there is also, I think we also complement this with personal touch points. So we have a team in place which kind of engages with the consumer and complement the technology through physical interface, because that helps us also to make our product better and the experience in the future better.
Okay. That's very interesting, actually. And I really like this whole piece of how transformation is very closely linked to culture. And it brings me to the, smile to my face, because at Shopper Stop, each of us was called the customer care associate, right? Right from the managing director to the CEO to actual staff on the store. Everybody's called customer care associate. So very important for creating belief and buy-in across the organization. So I can completely resonate with that. I want to pick the same question, with you, Siddhant, for Libas. You're now opening stores. You have been, of course, on D2C as well as multiple marketplaces. So when you have looked at technology from a customer experience point of view, and of course, customer experience design itself, what have been the key tenets of the strategy and plan at Libas?
Actually, for us at Libas, it has been one of the biggest challenges, because we are a brand who's moved from marketplaces to D2C, and we're not a D2C first brand. So, of course, the expectation of the customer is a lot higher, because here we are not competing with other D2C brands, we're competing with the marketplaces like a Myntra or a Flipkart, whereas we all know have heavily invested in customer experience and have fantastic technologies to support that. But that being said, like Deepak rightly said, there are a lot of new solutions that have come in. Technology has become much more advanced, and most importantly, it's become a lot easier today as compared to earlier for a D2C brand to give that kind of a customer experience. a lot of new products have come in, not just for customer experience, but the overall complete customer journey. Guys like, for example, Picker, who help us with the fulfillment, and a lot of other solutions. But yes, in order to kind of give that experience, we've also heavily invested in other things like logistics and warehouses, because like other marketplaces, we have to be closer to the customer. And that's why we have, regional utilization is one thing that is going to be really, really big in the coming months and years, because people expect the products to reach faster. And that's actually the major differences in a D2C brand and a marketplace, because very difficult to achieve those kind of shipping dates that an Amazon promises. But as newer solutions are coming in, we are also heavily investing on those fronts. And we've seen some great results in conversion, reduction in RTOs, reduction in overall exchange of the products, because we're able to reach our customers much quicker as compared to earlier. And then on the customer front, customer does expect, because of course in e-commerce, the only way a customer can get confidence is if we get quick responses. So we have a lot of technologies in place where the lead time or the SLAs to reach a customer back if he's put in a query is much faster as compared to earlier years. And we are heavily investing in those fronts. And in fact, offline also was one of those strategies for us to be closer to the customer, because we don't want to be called an offline brand. We are an omni-channel brand at the end of the day, and those stores that we are now opening, which is going to be pan-India in the coming years, are going to actually serve us as warehouses as well, where we're as close to the customers as possible.
Sure. Gaurav, you've been running this platform, Picker, I'm sure, for a while now, and you serve multiple categories and multiple clients. What do you think has been the focus around CX? So you did, of course, mention transparency. You did, of course, mention speed of delivery. But when you are dealing with your customers, right, who are actually serving the customer, what have you found to be the focus areas, which are, of course, obvious ones, like you mentioned, but are there also gaps that you find across where D2C brands need to be more aware of in terms of how do they actually leverage fulfillment, how do they leverage logistics to be far better customer experience, but also looking at, of course, cost as a very big factor, which everybody is concerned about in their business, right? Because you want that optimal time delivery, you want it in the right time. There is an SLA that you want to meet with the customer, but you want it at a cost which is actually well served for the business as well.
Yeah, Uma. So Uma, actually for us, the first important thing is that all our customers, whether they are D2C brands or they are in fashion category, they are in wellness category, whatever category they have, all of them get a same streamlined experience. We don't want Picker to give a differentiated experience to any of our customers. Then the second problem that we want to solve is how we can quickly connect with their end customers and resolve their issues. So the mode of communication earlier, it was mainly SMS and email, which had lags. But now the WhatsApp communication has brought in a lot of disruption in this communication. NDR conversions have become even better. So a lot of deliveries which used to fail due to, customer was not able to connect with the delivery boy, or there were some XYZ issues. Those things are getting resolved very early now. Then the next is getting closer to their customers through warehousing model. So now we have 6 warehouses operational across in India, and we are planning to get another 20 odd warehouses operational in next 6 months. With this warehousing model, we can enable delivery in hours rather than in days, where what happens in India today. And then regarding the cost front, first of all, with warehousing, there will be a cost reduction in shipping, but there can be a cost increment in the intelligence which we provide through warehousing. So eventually, what we are trying to solve is, rather than shooting up the cost, we are shooting up the experience. We want our customers to get a premium experience almost at about the same cost what they're incurring today, and we can optimize for the cost in the future going forward. As in the entire logistics supply chain, wherever you get in, the more volumes you get, the cost is automatically optimized.
Okay, that's interesting. So when you make that promise to a customer, I'm sure that makes a big difference in terms of how the D2C brand is seen as well by its consumers. And I think everybody, of course, would have the basic tech stack in place, right? You would have your ERP system, people use a PIM, CMS, and of course the CRM is critical, and all of you have spoken about that. But I think one of the things, and what I've, of course, in my many years in retail have seen is that it's very important to have direct control and leverage on the data, right? And analytics becomes a very key in terms of really looking at productivity, looking at optimization, looking at actually customer understanding more importantly than anything else, and the capability and infrastructure you need therefore to harness the data. And I'm sure you guys have sizable data sets by now, being in the business for a while, is very, very critical. And it's again very complex, right? Because you have digital marketing analytics, you have search analytics, you are browsing behavior, you have transaction analytics, and in shoppers, I remember we used to do very high repeat analytics because that was one of the key goals to get customer stickiness, and I'm sure all of you would want that as well. So could you share perhaps how you have tackled this in your organization? So things like, for example, do you outsource? Do you have a team in-house? What kind of, have you invested in data warehouses? Have you invested in a data lake? Or how exactly are you running this with capability in your organization? And what is the right way possibly to look at doing this in an organization which is looking at D2C as a primarily, model? And maybe Deepak, maybe you could start with that.
Yeah, no, I think a very good question, because ultimately I think compared to any other channel, this is what D2C offers you, right? Is access to first party data, and that helps kind of brand to take decision across the spectrum on what products to launch, how to make current portfolio better, to what kind of communication strategy to be adopted, to also how consumer kind of feels about your overall experience, right? And I think these three are the broad, but there are many other legs to what kind of insight the data can throw to you. I think for us, I think there are three levers to it. One is, how do we structure the data? Because I think there is too much noise right now in terms of different data sources being available and being coming across, and a lot of new channels of media and marketing are also coming up, right? So how do we structure the data? Second is, how do we make sure that access is real time and accessible to kind of the relevant team members in the company? And third is, at how is it being put to use through A/B testing, being kind of analyzed on a regular basis, and our decision making get better every hour. So I think we run almost, for example, 100 experiments every day. This is the data insights we get, and that's being documented in a way that we are able to take decisions on a daily basis on what to scale and what to kill there. And maybe for next campaign, we have library available on kind of picking up the best practices and scaling up from there. So I think, again, I will say that we actually we don't take pride in calling ourselves a D2C brand, I think, but we take pride in calling ourselves as a data science driven brand. So I think that's where data becomes so important for the overall business growth.
And what is the kind of team that you have actually created for this?
So I think, again, we don't work with any agency. We do everything in-house, which means right from team of performance marketer to brand marketer to designers to content copywriters, everything is one team, right? So, for example, if a performance marketer want to kind of run an experiment, so the creative guy knows that this is the asset I need to provide, and then copy guy knows this is the copy I want to test through the ad. And I think once we run that campaign, the information is available to all, not only the performance marketer, but also to creative guy and the copy guy, that this is the impact of the asset we have run, right? So that these guys, so their KPI is not giving a aesthetically good, for example, for a creative guy is not to give a aesthetically good creative. For him, the challenge is to give a creative which gives him X CTR, right? So that's how the team is being measured and kind of developed. We believe that I think you can only have best metrics if the team is in-house and the entire team has aligned KPIs, which is more metric led rather than the aesthetic led for the overall business.
So Gaurav, if I turn to you for noise, especially because you mentioned that everything is powered by an app and everything is so connected. I'm sure analytics is at the heart of everything that noise has to, do. And you mentioned that you looked at a lot of means of personalizing content recommendations and many other such aspects in terms of campaigns, etc. So how have you actually gone about this? Because, for me, this comes to immediately when I look at, Apple, and every time they take so It's very interesting how actually companies like yours, which are hardware but software and intelligence and a service, all rolled into one. So how do you treat analytics at Noise?
See, honestly, the entire Noise team, one of the biggest, the skill set that we see from anybody who joins the team is understanding of the data and being centric to the data. I think Deepak has covered most of it, what I would also be saying. But overall, honestly, it's just not the marketing, it's just not the performance that is requiring the data, but just looking for the next portfolio that what you want, how the performance has been on the old portfolio, what kind of feature set that you need to build for the next thing. It is 90% is data, right? With respect to how your performance operationally it is, right? How your financial performances are is absolutely dependent on data. So data team is something that we are very, very particular about and have been working very aggressively on those, having all those dashboards and other metrics is available to the entire team. So that the decisions, whatever been taken into the team are not just standalone decisions by a unique employee or team member. So again, like Deepak has said, for a D2C brand plus an internet D2C brand, everything is data. You can't take a single decision without data. And if you're just spraying, you're just dependent on a spray and pray approach, the success is not for long. If you're looking for developing a long-term business, of course, you have to be dependent on data and build not only one data analytics team, but the team around the data and have people who are more understandable to the data.
Yeah. So Siddhant, I'm sure in your case, and coming, from fashion, I think the biggest challenge that I used to find is that when I had to build a recommendation engine, right, it was very easy to relate it to the past purchases of a customer. But I think in fashion, what you really want to do, and as the CMO, I always wanted to have serendipity built in, right? Because you want to excite the customer, you want to challenge some boundaries, you want people to discover and, break those boundaries for themselves in terms of trying something, new. But it is also a lot of fodder which goes into your category and your buy teams, your designers, your buyers, etc., in terms of how they actually design the assortment or how they plan the assortment or what's really going to be the next big from libas, for example. So what have been your key programs around data analytics that you have run? I mean, we've heard, of course, many insights from Deepak and as well as from Gaurav, but what do you think about this? Sorry, I think you're on mute. Siddhant, you're on mute.
Sorry. Hi. So being a fashion brand, I think it's actually very, very challenging because we have a huge variety of customers out there, which are very different. They're different across different age groups, different ethnicity, right? So even the collections that we are making, the content that we are making is very, very personalized now going forward, personalized to the region, age, and etc. And I think it has actually really helped us because, like Deepak said, that we also do a lot of experimental campaigns where we kind of try to understand what the consumer is kind of reacting to a particular marketing campaign, which really helps us to understand if we can do it at scale or not. So, data, the other forms of data, like getting, uh, competitor approach, right? So a lot of brands are now following a similar approach when it comes to marketing and gathering data. And in fact, for us also, I won't say that we have a particular data analytics team because that data today has to be provided to the complete organization. Everybody for an e-commerce brand is working on data. So, I mean, there are, and is huge data, right? So starting from age group to the mobile devices to the credit cards being used. So it has to be very personalized. In fact, for our marketing team also, there's a brief that when they are creating a marketing campaign, it is not supposed to be a centralized marketing campaign, which is catering to the whole country. We are doing a lot of region-based marketing, in different states. For example, if you go in the South, the way they perceive fashion is completely different as compared to people in the North. So the campaigns are designed. In fact, when we do our content, when it comes to our fashion shoots and a new collection coming in, even the shoots are done, say regionally, or say, for example, certain kind of content has to be created for millennials. So we are focusing on those strategies, and it has worked really, really well for us. And this is something that we're going to continue to do in the coming future.
I'll just pose another question to you because you mentioned that obviously the data goes to everybody, and that is the heart of how the organization actually functions. So obviously we are moving now towards a cookieless world, right? With Google has announced, and maybe it will be 2023, and then the third party use of third party cookies will be restricted. And that is something which all of us, as especially marketers, have relied on that really for our targeting and for scaling up, traffic and acquisition. But you are also, of course, and all of you, and including you, Siddhant, have first party data, which is very, very valuable because you've been on D2C, and unlike others who probably didn't take that route, early in their launches. But how are you actually planning to tackle this, and what are the plans that you've built using that first party data that you have to leverage this, whether it's for acquisition or retention? And more importantly, it can also help you to reduce your cost of acquisition in the future. But how are you actually preparing for this, a year or two down the line when actually there is no option but to rely on this?
So, like I said, I think it's all the same thing, right? So, data is key for us, and like we said, first party data is something that we've been able to gather. Of course, marketplaces, the journey was completely different, and now, in fact, to get more and more data, we are doing a lot of different smaller campaigns, which are like lead generation campaigns or smaller customer surveys to understand what the customer behavior is. And as more after COVID, more and more brands are coming in. So of course, it's becoming a very competitive market. And the biggest challenge for most D2C brands in the coming years is going to be the customer acquisition cost. And the only way to do that is to increase personalization. So what we've seen in the last 2 to 3 years, personalization is the future, because it's not a one product for all approach for any brand, not just fashion. In fact, other product-led brands also. So I think that's going to be key for everyone, personalization, marketing, because with so much competition, people don't want to see what they don't want to see, right? So it's going to be very beneficial. The only way to bring the customer acquisition cost down is going to be by showing them what they want. And that can easily be achieved today with e-commerce through a lot of tools and a lot of data that we get.
So I'll take this to Deepak, you as well. When you look at customer acquisition, and again, you have grown that database right from starting with a small base of customers, where you have a lot of direct information now about obviously customer preferences and their behaviors around grooming.
Right.
Are you using this anyway, and would you know how Bombay shaving companies, maybe marketing teams, are using this for customer acquisition through lookalike and other any kind of sophisticated modeling techniques? And especially with Facebook having withdrawn capabilities of native profiling right within the app. And is there anything that you guys would have done around this, because you're sitting with very sharp data around a very tight range? Have you been able to actually look at customer acquisition differently?
Yes, I think the first party data helps us kind of obviously create sharp consumer targeting through consumer cohorts, and then kind of devise our marketing communication as well as targeting accordingly. While I think Facebook has kind of they made some changes to the way the algos, etc. But I believe that maybe this is the learning over last few years. The system is mature enough to kind of circumvent that and continue to get better all the time. In fact, I think artificial intelligence is helping us kind of run better Facebook campaigns and kind of better ROAS that way. Also, I think so. I think divide this question into two parts actually. One is helping us acquire new consumers. Yes. With optimal spend, yes, because I think with every experiment you learn and you continue to get better, and that's where the artificial intelligence helps you. Second is also, I think, with the existing consumers, because ultimately I think the moat for at least in our category, or in fact any business, is the repeat and the lifetime value of the consumer. I think the first party data also help us kind of upsell a lot more to the existing consumers. So that's where kind of we reach out to them, and through new solutions, through education, and kind of also use them as opinion leaders to kind of acquire new consumers at a much lesser cost, right? So I will say it's not only about new consumer acquisition, and also about kind of getting more revenue from the existing consumer. That's where first party data helps us.